We back again with part 2 of our episode with our guest, my boy Mark Terrible. That last name is crazy, but so far, I think that's so cool. That's crazy branding too. I'm just saying, it's crazy branding. I'm Bones the Goat, aka Corey Sturkey.
I'm Michael Ryder, aka Ryder Grooms.
Gregory Sturkey, aka Pops.
This is another episode of Conversations That Cure. I think one thing that when we first started the show, the greatest quality that we had and that we continue to have is our vulnerability and our transparency on where we're at in life at that time. And I feel like we felt like it's very important for us to constantly tap back into that as much as we possibly can. So my question for everybody, not just you as a guest, but just all of us and men in general, is like, how are you doing? How are you doing right now? What are some things, or what are some tools that you've had to add to your repertoire, to your bag? And when I say tools, the only way you gain tools is through trials and tribulations and through experiences and things not going as planned. And if anybody wants to share where they're at right now, cool. If not, I can go first. I'm fine with that. Cool.
Lead the way.
Perfect. Reason why I wanted to do this and specifically speak to you about it, Mark, is me these past couple years, easily hardest 2 years of my life, and that's from every regard, from business, financially, spiritually, emotionally. It was the hardest, hardest aspect, the hardest period I've ever experienced in my life, but it was also the most rewarding because I was able to pull, and God pulled so many things from me, and I was able to build such a stronger community of people in a circle around me, including you now. But the thing that really was messing me up was the breakup that I had with my kid's mother and my children, because my identity is a father.
Right.
Nothing else. I don't care about nothing else. Everything I do is fueled to be the best version of Corey, so I can be the best dad to Nova and Kai over anything else. So a hard thing for me was not being around my kids every day. You know, it was torment. I remember my first holiday that I had without my kids. I had the flu, and it was a New Year's Eve a couple years back, and I remember I cried so hard that I bust the blood vessels in my eyes, because I remember just sitting there crying and saying, it's like, I did everything I was supposed to do. I did everything I was supposed to do. Why didn't it work the way it was supposed to work? And I had to sit back and really start to look at the things that I did wrong and what I could have done better as a companion, as a man, and also as a father, and as a man of God also. And I had to really work through those things where I had to remove my ego from the relationship that I had with my kid's mother, and understanding that we're not together no more, and she's not my possession or a toy. And I had to get to that point where I had to be okay with telling her the things that I did wrong, so that way she could be happy and she could be free. Because for years, for a while, I felt like I kept her hostage emotionally, because I wasn't happy in the relationship, and I didn't have enough courage, and I didn't have enough security and enough confidence within myself and who I was as a man to step away and still feel like I would be able to be a sufficient and a good father to my children.
Right.
That goes on. I finally get over that. She's in a relationship. Recently, what I'm dealing with recently is she hits me up. She's like, hey, she comes to the house. We have a talk. She's like, you know, me and the guy that she's with, guy Travis, he's a good dude. He's a really good guy. And she said, you know, he wants to take care of me and wants us to move in with each other. And immediately my ego, boom, pumped up. And it was like, nah, Corey, fix it. If you fix it, try to fix it. Because if you fix it, then this other man won't be around your kids. And it was so selfish, that thought in that moment. But the work that I had done prior to that with dealing with my ego, I immediately had to say, I don't have any say-so in this whatsoever, because I trust who she is as a mother, and I trust that she won't put our children in a hard situation, or in a situation to where I would feel like I would need to step in. Mind you, I know the guy. He's a good dude. He's never done anything to make me feel that my children will be in danger for him. He's irrelevant. Right. She's really irrelevant in the situation. Everything about that scenario had to do with Corey. And I looked at her in the face and I said, you have to do what you need to do to be happy. But that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, was to sit back and say to the children of my mother, the mother of my children, that it's okay for another man to have an impact and help raise my children. And it was so hard. But then through my prayer and just my quiet time, me crying and journaling, God gave me a perspective of, imagine if you only had your father to educate you. Imagine if you never had any other men in your life pour into you. And I sat back and I thought for a second. I said, what if this man can teach my son something that I don't know?
Right.
What if this father that has 2 daughters, what if he can teach me something on how to communicate to my daughter better and be a better father for my children? It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, was to just sit back and say, okay, Chaz, I trust you. Okay, Travis, I trust you. Here's my children. But it was so freeing to me, because when my son saw that I was okay with it, he began to relax.
Right.
And it created a space where him and Travis could develop their own bond. And my father and Ryder would tell you, 3 years ago, I was never having this conversation. Now, there wasn't even a chance that I was having. I ain't talking to this nigga. I don't give a damn who he is, about their relate. I don't care. No, my kids don't need nobody. They got me. I'm their dad. And it was so egotistical,
right,
to say that, to think that I know everything that's best for these kids, and that this other person who has shown me nothing to make me feel otherwise can't implement something in. So I say all of that to say this. How was it for you when you married your wife and she had a child prior to you, right?
Right.
How was it for you? How did you maintain that same level of love between your biological kids and your gift child?
Right.
Because I don't like to call it a step kid. You know,
Right.
that child is a gift to you.
Bonus, baby.
You know, he was
A bonus, baby, yeah.
Yeah, he's a gift. You know, whether or not that's your biological son or not, he's still your son.
Right. Absolutely.
So how did you remove, if there was any ego, to say, no, hell no, I'm gonna take care of this young man the same way I'm gonna take care of my children?
Well, you know, my wife and I, we got into a relationship when I'm 41 now. We got into a relationship when I was 26. So that was totally new to me. That whole, the parenting aspect was totally new to me. And then on top of it, I knew I was going into this relationship with high walls and boundaries. You know, and I knew nothing about parenting. I knew nothing about parenting, so it was really trial and error for me every step of the way. It created a lot of tension with myself and my wife in the beginning, and my wife's family, because they didn't like me simply because I was just another man. It wasn't because they didn't like my character. It was just I was stepping in, proverbially, I was stepping into that place where his biological father is supposed to be, and supposed to be providing, you know, the knowledge and the tutelage that he's supposed to be providing. But things happen.
Yeah.
You know, so it was hard, man. It was extremely hard. And I do remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? You know, I remember the first time I had to stay home alone with him. I had to watch him because my wife was at work. You know, he didn't want to come near me. You know, and I'm good with kids, but this was a whole different scenario. It was,
you ain't dad.
No, right, right. You know, and so I'm having to like really sit there and consciously like make every move where like, well, I don't want to do something to the point where he's gonna tell his his biological dad and my wife, that I'm being quote unquote abusive, or I said something wrong to him. You know, it was tedious to say the least. But obviously, I say like after 2 or 3 years, that's how long it took. After 2 or 3 years, you know, the comfort level set in, the trust set in, and we really began to develop a deeper relationship. And now it's to the point, it's like, you know, when we have conversations, he'll call me and he'll ask me about certain things.
Okay.
And then he'll call his mom, which
All right. All right.
his mom, sometimes she gets in her feelings about that, but I think it's cool.
But it's different though.
When he got his driver's license in Puerto Rico, he sent me the picture, and
Oh, he sent it to you first.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was
Talk way about that. for
Sorry
sure.
about that one.
right, and you know, I was busting his chops at first, and then I told him I was proud of him and congratulations, but I felt so proud.
Yeah.
You know, I felt so proud knowing from where we started to where we're at now. You know, and I got to give it up to anybody who steps into that role of a step parent, because it's not easy, especially if you're coming into it at odds. You know, with you know your significant other's parents, or the father being extremely combative and not really willing to make things work. And like, my wife's Puerto Rican, so on top of that, there was like a language barrier. So, you know, sometimes you would want to know what they're talking about, you know, which pick out a couple words, you know, from Spanish level high school, you know, to really just having to feel everything, and then, you know, my wife having to tell me certain things and to translate certain things to me. But it really helped me develop as not only a man, but like as a father to my children currently. You know, and it was a tough experience, but it was an experience that I needed.
So he was like your first. He was essentially what kind of taught you how to be a father.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You learned through him.
Yeah.
And I to be honest with you, to be in a space now, I pray that my son is able to develop a relationship like that
Right.
with Travis, and I hope that it does get to that point, because now I'm in a space where I know that him being good to Kai doesn't take away me being the father that I am to my children.
Exactly.
You know, but Ryder, what's up with you?
And I think that's like, I was raised by a single mother.
Right.
And it's beautiful that you guys were able to have that relationship, because I used to give these boys hell, bro. I was the oldest of 3, and my mom would date a lot. And she would wait until, you know, she felt comfortable, and she'd start bringing these guys around. But I remember specifically with my brother's father, I gave that man hell. The only man she ever married, and I gave him such hell, bro, for no reason. And today we have more of like that man-on-man relationship, and we're able to talk and things like that. But I just remember being like 10, 11, 12 years old, and just telling, yo, you're not my father. Like, there's certain things. When you're nice to me and you could do something for me, I'll be cool with you.
Right.
But then when you're not, like, nah, man. So it's beautiful. Like I said, over time, we started to develop more of that respect for one another. And today I can sit there, if I need something, I'll call him. We can have that conversation. But it's beautiful that you do have that relationship, and I commend it.
Appreciate that.
As for myself, man, I don't know. I'm in a weird season, right? And one question, and we'll get back to the question, but like, I'm in a weird season where like, I feel like I'm stretching myself so thin with everything, bro. And I'm giving a lot out here, doing this, between work, being a father, trying to be a son, trying to handle the business, trying to handle this, trying to still work on myself, that I'm handling all these other things, but like, myself has kind of been like the last thing to really be in touch with.
Right.
And even over the past weekend, went to one of my best friend's weddings, and like, just over the entire weekend, like as like we're driving back to the airport, I'm like sitting there, and I was like, there was moments of happiness, and there was joy, you know, being there for my boy, but like, I'm like really sitting and thinking about it. I'm like, yo, a lot of it, I just felt like I was just there.
You weren't present.
There just wasn't anything there. Right. I felt like I was just like a shell kind of just going through the motions. Like, all right, I gotta hop on this flight, go to this wedding, go to this, and I don't want to attest it to any certain thing, but a lot of it, like I said, I could sit here and look now, even just having these little bit of moments and being like, all right, you're definitely you're giving your all to everything else, to the point where like Mike is definitely disconnected, and I need to get into some work and figure out where that disconnection with myself is coming from.
Right.
So the one question I have for you is same thing. You're a small business owner. You're a father. You teach your kids from at home. What do you do to keep that balance within yourself so that you don't lose yourself in the aspects so that you can't give to nobody else?
Well, I make sure every day, being in the business that I'm in, I move every day. I gotta move.
Yeah.
And I gotta move every single day. When I say move, it's exercise, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, strenuous exercise. Sometimes you need to just do some Tai Chi or something, or do some Qigong or something, or do some breathing exercises in solitude.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling you the other day, like sometimes you just gotta sit in total quiet.
Silence.
Sit in total silence, no social media. And for me personally, you know, I know social media is a big bag for everyone in the world today, but you really have to pay attention to how much of it you're actually absorbing on a daily basis, because it will F you up.
Yeah.
You know, you really got to be conscious of that, because subconsciously we start taking things in. You know, you may not think about it on the moment. Subconsciously, we start taking things in, and then, you know, maybe a couple days later, a couple weeks later, you might start thinking about some shit that you've never thought about before. Why are you thinking about that? Because you saw it. You saw it over and over and over and over again. You know. So I really tried within the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. I've tried to minimize my time on social media. I journal every day, every single day. Meditate. Pray, or whatever you want to call it. I found that I really, in order for me to give, I have to give to myself. You got to give to the foundation first. And, you know, you can't think of it as being selfish. Like Nietzsche has told me, she put it in the terms of rest and renewal.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be able to do that for real, even if it's just for like 10 minutes.
That R&R.
Yeah. It's very, very serious, and you have to prioritize that. You know, you have to book a time where you're going to be like, you know, I'm going to do this for myself, and when I do this for myself, then I can tend to the world.
Yeah.
You know, and that may require you to get up a little bit earlier in the morning, you know, or go to bed a little bit earlier. So I think it's just about picking and choosing what you're giving your energy to, you know, because it's easy to redline, man. We live in a hyper-stimulated world. It's easy to redline.
Yeah.
You know, once you're there, it's hard to reel yourself back
into
in.
it. I agree 100%, because that's exactly where I'm at in life. It's like I need to get back into that reeling in of like myself.
Right.
Like I have the tools. I know exactly what I need to do to be here, centered within myself, the best person that I'm possibly able to do. But I'm like a tea bag. My ass only wants to work in some hot water. So I'll wait until I start to feel the pain like I'm starting to get into now, and then I'll start, okay, now let me go pick these tools up and let me handle it. I'd want to get to that point where it's like I don't have to wait until I'm at that point of like, all right, Mike, we gotta make the transition here. Like, let's get back on the high horse now rather than wait till we're down that hole, you know?
Yeah, you don't necessarily want tragedy to be your catalyst.
Exactly.
You know, we don't want to have to change under pressure.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be, you know, us breaking our backs in order to improve. You know, I think that builds a toxic work ethic, especially on yourself. Like you always got to be hustling. It's like, no, sometimes you gotta just chill.
I think I be struggling with that sometimes too, where I have like, cause I'm so used to always doing some shit to where when I do prioritize a day where I don't want to do nothing,
right,
half the time I'm fighting mentally like, nigga, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
Get your ass
You
up.
could have did something. You should have did this. You
But
should
then I
have
gotta
did
remind
this.
myself, it was like, I'm taking this break because I fucking think like that all the time. And the reason that me thinking like that all the time is the reason why I need this break. So I have to tell myself like, nah, man, it's all right.
Right.
You got to do this because if you don't, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And you got to fill up. Just like when Michi said that R&R, that rest and renewal is so big. But what about you, Pops?
I would say at the beginning of the year, I think I was at my most stressful time because I had too many repeats going on in my life, and I owe a lot to my fiance, and she had came to the house and she redid something in the house, and she moved one piece of furniture, just one piece. She moved it, and when she moved it, it broke a pattern in my life. So I began to see things different, and that began to speak to me that you can do this. Things will work out for you. So I began to fast, and I started off with just skipping breakfast. Then I went from skipping breakfast to skipping lunch. I went from skipping lunch, now this was over the course of a couple of months, and I went from doing that to I was able to do a couple of days. And in those couple of days, I realized this thing, that I was getting clarity on everything that was going on. So I began to set goals. And as I set the goals, I would reach the goal. But then I was like, okay, what next? So by the end of the year, I had to say to myself, I went on a fast, and I think it was an 18 or 19-day fast, and I just did water and I had coffee. But on that, now I'm a Christian, I believe, I talk to God, I pray. Was revealed to me, stop reaching for goals. We focus too much on a goal. God spoke to me, you need alignment. Where is your alignment? In other words, I realized that fasting allowed me to hear instructions, see where I need to move. So I realized doing that, this is something that aligns me. Now I'm accountable to practice this. If I go off of it, it's my fault. I step out of alignment. So I learned this year that it's our responsibility, my responsibility, to find my alignment in life. Find the vibe that I need, the lane I need to be in. Because, I say to myself that there's a scripture that says, to whom much is given, much is required. So it's my job to realize is my education don't make room for me. My money don't make room for me. My gift makes room for me. So it's my job to find out and to invest in what God has gifted me with and pour into it. And pour into it. How can the gift open this door? How can the gift benefit me there? And it's not just one gift, it was a few gifts. And once I begin to see that, the repeats begin to stop. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. When I met my fiance, I was the most insecure. I think I was in the most insecure state of my life. She came up to me making tons of money, and she was interested in me. And I couldn't see what she was interested in. I was like, but why you want to, why you looking my way, And it made me realize this, that your value is not in your pocket. My value came from my faith, what I believe. Because one thing I practice in my life is this, I don't quit. I may hit a brick wall a couple of times, but I'm going to find out which way to go and how to go. But it allowed me to sit with myself and talk with myself and work through those insecurities. Because I'm listening to my son, because me and him talked about what he said just now, you know, where he went. Because my thing is, as men, we don't talk about our ego. We don't bring that to the table because we have a picture. I would have lost everything if it had not been for my fiance. I would have lost everything. She came into my life and I was so insecure. I would see other guys looking at her. I would argue with her. What do you know? But then because of who I am, I realized that's had nothing to do with her. That had everything to do with you. So I began to sit, and I would sit, and I would be still, and I would work. I would go back to her. I'm sorry, you know, that was my mess up. You had nothing to do with that. But I say all that to say is that my strength came from confronting myself.
Right.
And being honest, 100% honest with myself. Now, she believes and invests in everything I'm doing now, in every place I go. Why? Because I practice what I preach. Right. But it came from what? Sitting, looking in the mirror,
I think,
dealing.
And even on the outside looking in, when he was going through that, I was living in the house with him. Right. And we both were doing bad. And to see the way you can tell when me and my dad are depressed is how our living area looks.
100%.
Our car would be messy, our room would be messy. And we were living in that, and I saw it. But when Lisa came, things changed. Right. It changed a lot because her confidence in who she is as a woman forced him to look at himself in the mirror and address things. And this is what I wanted you to share. This is the version that these people need to see of you, because I know, you know, like I know how you struggle so much with being insecure because I dealt with it. And everything that you've ever dealt with, I've encountered it at one area in my life. So like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you because I seen how the Suburban used to look. I seen how your room looked. I seen how Roy's bathroom looked. I seen how the living room looked. But I'm so proud of you for doing that work. Because seeing you do it, it gave me permission to do it in myself. Because now it was like, it can be done. Because for a long time I was like, how am I going to overcome this thing if the strongest person that I know is beating him up? Right. And then it had got to the point where I had to go to him and be like, what can I do to help? Because it was like, it's like watching Superman get beat up. And knowing that the person that he's fighting, I'm not strong enough to step in. He has to do this battle on his own. So, Dad, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of the work that you put in this year. And we bumped heads more this year than my whole life. Yeah, but the thing about it is we bumped heads because we were both in the same season. And we both needed what the other person's tools were. I needed you to go through that so you could tell me what I need to do to handle the situation with Chaz and how to fight depression and how to internalize things and take accountability for stuff and removing the faces and the names from the scenarios. Because that's really what it is. Once you can remove Chastity, you can remove Travis, you can remove depression, you can remove the people that have done you wrong, and you focus on what can I do I can't control how they move or how they treat me or what they may do to me or how life can happen, but I can control how I respond to it. And that's what you taught me this year. It's like, and over these past years, to seeing you struggle with this, you taught me that if I just show up and control and do the things that I can control, things have to change.
Things have to change.
You hear how he said, I don't know how to quit?
Right.
I'm the same way. Ryder tell you too, when I'm going through my shit, I'll look at him and say, bro, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna figure this out.
Right.
I'm gonna figure it out. And that's when we had our meeting this past week. It's like, these are the type of conversations that I want to have, that I feel like we have to have, because there's so much value in that. There's so much value in that. And that, man, look, man, I'm so proud of you, because you're my hero. You're my best friend. You're my role model. You're the person who I look at and I gauge what a man and what a father is supposed to be. So to see you going through that and not being able to do anything, it broke me. But to see you go through it this year and come to where you are right now, I'm so encouraged. I'm so encouraged, because now I know it's like, at any age, I can still grow and become a better version of Corey. At 58, I can still be a better version than what I was the year prior to that. You never accepted the fact that the old dog can't learn new tricks. You've always constantly progressed, but
Never.
with that being said, man, Mark, man, thank you so much, bro. And I know for a fact this will not be the last time that we have you on here, man. Like, I thank you so much for your vulnerability, even off camera with your wife chiming in, dropping like little things there, and bro. I thank you so much, man. And then, Ryder, man, don't forget Mike. You hear me say all the time, the boat don't move if Corey ain't right. Bones don't mean nothing. Ryder Grooms ain't nothing if Mike ain't good. And I think the thing that's so beautiful about where we're at right now is that you can recognize it. And it's not just, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. You know exactly what you need to do. And you know that you have all the tools to accomplish what you need to get done. So, bro, like, thank you for everything that you've done for me. And thank you for being transparent and being vulnerable. But with that said, we're going to come to a close again for the second episode with our interview with our guy, Mark, man. Thank you again so much, brother. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
If y'all watch, oh, you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, I just want to thank you guys for having me on this platform, and what you guys are doing here is amazing, man. This is, you know, 10, 15 years ago, these type of conversations, you know, would not have happened, and they would have looked like we've been soft. We've turned soft. You know, But this allows us to really come into our authentic self. So you guys, you know, I'm so proud of what you guys are doing, and continue to do it. Continue to do it, because you're helping a lot more people than you know. I appreciate you.
On that note, like, comment, share, subscribe. Share everything. Hit us up if y'all got any questions, man. Thank y'all so much. This is a wrap for another episode of Conversation That Cure. I'm Bones to Go, a.k.a. Corey Sturkey.
I'm Michael Ryder, a.k.a. Ryder Grooms.
Gregory Sturkey, a.k.a. Pops.
Mark Terrible.
My dog.
All right.